Sorry about this, but got it. Go ahead, Brooke, and you might want to just back up a little and
Okay, and I think someone on needs to mute because we hear somebody.
I didn't see her. I put it out on the front porch.
Can you all mute as the co-hosts?
I will mute everyone.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there you go. Okay. So what
Bye-bye.
we're talking about are resources that we can use to reduce our plastics in tourism, because plastics are a huge contributor to greenhouse gases. We can say no to straws. We can bring our own refillable water bottle, which is becoming ever more popular. And we see a lot of hotels now have refillable water stations and other places too. In fact, there's this app called Refill that's being used all over the world as travelers go to Paris, or as in the example here, New Jersey. They can find out from the app where to refill their water bottle. We have a project right now in Pinellas County. We're mapping every refillable water bottle station in the county, and we're going to upload it to Refill and share that with travelers when they come over here to our beautiful beaches. So we have a lot of resources. Globally, we have this one, the Global Tourism Plastics Initiative, trying to reduce plastics. And you can actually be a signatory of this as an organization if you want to. It was thought for a long time that tourism was a smokestackless industry. It's where people go and relax and have fun. In fact, we didn't even study tourism for a long time because we thought, what's to study? It's people going on vacation. Then, of course, we realized it was the biggest industry in the world, and now we know it has an enormous impact, including lots of emissions, as you can see here. Tourism is highly vulnerable to climate change because tourism is dependent on environments and they're being affected by it, from fires to sea level rise to everything else that climate change brings to us. So we have to accelerate our climate action in tourism if we're going to be resilient in this very important sector. As we know from the pandemic, many economies rely solely on tourism, so we must make it resilient. But speaking of emissions, let's talk about emissions and cruises. They're one of the worst offenders. And in this graphic, you can see that ships owned by Carnival emit 10 times more emissions than all European cars put together. Here's another graphic, sinking the climate, how Carnival and the rest of the cruise industry are accelerating climate change. We really need to transform how we power these ships because the emissions are enormous with cruises. And we talk a lot about CO2, but there are many other greenhouse gases, including methane, which is a much worse greenhouse gas. Sometimes we like to blame the cows for emitting methane, but take a look at this. A single cruise ship emits as much as 10,000 cows in the course of a whole year. So we need to stop blaming the cows, I think. We have some tools that we can use to figure out what the best cruise line is. Friends of the Earth puts out a cruise line scorecard. You can look this up online, or you can take a quick peek at this one to see if you've been on any of these cruises. Have you been on Princess? They got an F on the report card. And we see a lot of Fs down there. We might want to focus on some of the ones that are getting Bs or even Cs, because it seems like maybe they're trying to do a little more. So we see Disney, their final grade is a B plus. And we have a few that aren't actually on here, but it's one tool that you can use to check out the cruise lines. This is the future, we hope, the Peace Boat Eco Ship. It has not been built yet. It is in the works, and it is a fully circular economy cruise ship using solar and wind and other renewable sources. It's branded with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, as you can see here. Circular economy in every way, recapturing water, recycling. So someday we will have fully sustainable cruising. Today is not that day. So you want to be a little more careful with your choices. Here's an article from CNN on some better cruise lines to choose. They give us 5. There are some other listings that you can find out there too, but there are some eco-conscious cruises for you. In general, smaller boats tend to be better because the large ones have a major impact on the environments that they go through. But what about hotels? We stay in those too when we travel. Hotels are built environments and they have a large footprint, especially over the course of the life of the hotel. A lot of emissions, a lot of wastewater, a lot of trash being generated. So hotels are a big focal point for sustainable tourism. And we don't want our hotels contributing to the climate crisis. So we want to make them more efficient. If you go on Google search now and you just put in a random hotel, I put in the Diplomat Beach Resort in Hollywood over there on the other coast of Florida. I'm in Tampa. And you'll see on Google now, it'll give you the price, you can put in dates. And if you scroll down, there's a sustainability tab like this one, and then you can hit it and see, oh, what is this hotel doing? Okay, they have a recycling program, they responsibly source seafood. Okay, great. And then you can view more. So we see more and more of these tools are being put in places like Google, so the average consumer can find out more as they plan their booking. There are many certifications for sustainable hotels around the world, kind of a dizzying array of choices. Here in Florida, we have the Florida Green Lodging Program. So you should check to see if you're staying in a hotel in Florida, if it is Florida Green Lodging certified. Here, the famous Don Cesar in St. Pete Beach they have 2 palms, I think, in the 5 palm platform that Florida Green Lodging provides. So you can check that out. Also, you can book your hotel right on a platform that only has sustainable lodging on it, like Regenerative Travel. And you can search regenerative hotels by different themes, as you can see here, beachfront, luxury amenities, and things like that. Kind Traveler is another platform, and they will help you book a sustainable lodging, and then they donate proceeds to various causes that follow our triple bottom line of people, planet, and prosperity. They are heavily involved at Kind Traveler in supporting climate action, our SDG number 13. And we won't watch this now because we're running short on time, but if you go to YouTube, you can see this little piece here by Kind Traveler. I want to touch on one more thing before we conclude, and that is the role of food waste in exacerbating our climate crisis. There's so much food waste in tourism and hospitality. We got to tackle this one too. And you can see here's a report by the UN World Tourism Organization on the global roadmap for food waste reduction in tourism. Food waste causes at least 10% of our greenhouse gases. What a shame. Something that we're just wasting that we don't need to. That's just crazy. 30 to 40% of all food is wasted across the world. So we're losing money, we're losing a resource, and we're making the climate crisis worse. Oh, we got to fix food waste. Absolutely. The UN Sustainable Development Goals are very focused on food waste and trying to reduce it. And so they've got targets that we hope we're going to reach by 2030. I personally compost all of my food waste and then I grow more food from it. So that makes a lot of sense. The hospitality industry is really trying to tackle this, but it just has not become commonplace yet. Hospitality Net pushes out some resources like this one. And we really want to get to zero waste. I recently met the people who run the Sustainable Events Network, Florida and Caribbean chapter. They have amazing tools to help people plan events with zero food waste. No need to waste food. Plenty of tools out there. But if we do have some scraps left over from our cooking, they should never go to a landfill. They need to go to a compost pile or a biodigester. And just to finish up with a huge effort going on around the world related to tourism and climate change, During COP26, the meeting of the parties where we get together to talk about climate change globally, COP26 was a couple years ago, the Glasgow Declaration was formed on climate action and tourism. And it's got 5 different focal points, as you can see here. There are over 525 signatories now of the Glasgow Declaration, including governments, corporations, and even individuals. And I'm going to have my School of Hospitality at USF sign on to this too. So just to sum up here, there's lots of ways that you can improve your sustainability on your travelers. Pack lighter is one, because the heavier our suitcases, the more fuel our plane uses. Take nonstop flights, eat local, support local economies and cultures, choose your eco hotels, try to leave no trace, and drink a near beer. So drink something produced locally. It has less food miles and emissions associated with it. So those are just some recommendations I have for you, and we can entertain some questions here. And we actually sort of came in on time, just a few minutes later, even with our changeover of Zoom.
Well, I appreciate you graciously taking that poor transition in the middle. Well, we had an IT issue, but I hope everybody is back. And as usual, you know that this is supposed to be a dynamic conversation. So if everyone wants to put their pictures back on and possibly unmute your mic, we can take some questions. I wish we had an opportunity to take an entire course on this, Brooke,